Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiatoria. So this is a very short video just to talk about the term historical European martial arts. Now a lot of people out there, and I see this particularly on discussions on Facebook for example, but equally on forums and things like that, essentially complain about the term HEMA. They don't like the term HEMA. Most of these people tend to be people who were involved with the reconstructive European martial arts movement in the early days, and in the early days it was often known as WMA or Western martial arts. And there's a very specific reason that a number of us, particularly in Europe, moved away from the term WMA and moved towards HEMA. And that was very simply because it was that Western martial arts has the word Western in it. And there's a real problem with the word Western. First of all, for those of us growing up in Europe, for example, if we hear the word Western, we tend to think of cowboys running around on horses and shooting cult peacemakers. And this isn't necessarily, it's not, you know, we're not practicing cowboy martial arts, so Western has that connotation. But equally, if we go, well, Western in terms of Western culture to differentiate from Asian culture, then you've got another problem as well, because for those of us living in Europe, you know, what about Russians, for example? So there are Russian saber and bayonet manuals. If you're practicing Russian saber or bayonet or Polish saber, is that Western? Would we call it a Western martial art? It becomes a bit confusing. And the problem is that the term Western is kind of so nebulous. It's a relative term. Western in relation to what? And you know, what is Western culture? Is there one thing that is Western culture? Now you could say the same thing for European, and in fact we do have this problem. You know, there are certain countries that are on the fringes of Europe, and do we consider them Europe or not? Russia is one example. I personally consider Russia European in a sense, in that it's culturally European, and I think that's what it boils down to, is that there are shared cultural traits across countries that you can broadly describe as European. And of course that includes America. Very clearly, America is not part of Europe, but it is, at least when I say America, of course, I mean North America, I mean the USA and Canada, obviously not the whole of the Americas, but the USA and Canada do have martial arts from the period where we would be encapsulated by HEMA. So they have 19th century bayonet and saber and small sword manuals, and we would definitely class these as HEMA. Yes, they are, of course, Western. They're as Western as you can get on a conventional map. But they, in this sense, we would kind of class those as HEMA, even though they're not technically European. So to cut a long story short, there is no perfect term for what I call HEMA. And that's in a sense why the acronym, the letters, kind of work better than the full name in a way, because if we all accept we know what HEMA is, we know that 18th century English wrestling is HEMA, we know that 19th century marksmanship with a rifle is HEMA, we know that medieval dagger defence is HEMA, we know that 17th century rapier and dagger is HEMA. If we call all of these things HEMA, and the thing which really defines them is that there are historical sources to derive and check the methods that we use for using those historical weapons or fighting methods if they're unarmed martial arts, then we can call it HEMA. But ultimately, you can call it whatever you like. But there is always this problem that comes up about how to define or what terminology to use to describe what it is we, whoever we are, and obviously not everyone does the same thing as me, but what we do. And that's in short why I don't like the term WMA or Western martial arts, which is the term that I started out using, and it's the term that I moved away from, because I don't think the term Western is as good as historical European, because I think they're more descriptive of at least what I do. But you can call it whatever you like. Cheers folks.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, follow us on Facebook. You can buy t-shirts through Spreadshirt, support us on Patreon, or follow us on Pinterest. Thank you.